Data from the National Cancer Institute shows that Arizona has a higher rate of melanoma than the rest of the nation, and the numbers are especially concerning for those over the age of 50. Tonight, we talk about those concerns as part of our monthly AARP-sponsored segment that highlights issues important to older adults in Arizona. Joining us now, Dr. Jordan Abbott, dermatologist at the Banner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Dr. Abbott, good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's do some basic stuff here. What is melanoma?
So melanoma is a type of skin cancer. It's the third most common type of skin cancer. So you may have heard of basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and then melanoma really maybe has gotten more publicity because it can be the one that spreads internally and tends to be more serious than the other two.
And I was going to ask you that. How does it differ from the other skin cancers? People go, they get them burned off, they get them taken off, whatever. This is different business. Why is it different business?
Yeah, so most of the time, basal cell carcinomas and squamous cells are detected at a really early stage when we can just cut them off or burn them off, like you've said. However, for melanoma, about half of them are detected where they've already spread through the top layer of the skin. So when that happens, that means there's potential that they've spread to the lymph nodes or other areas in the body.
So is it a fast track to the lymph nodes? I mean, if you have it here, does it immediately go to the lymph nodes? Or?
You know, every tumor is going to be different.
Yeah.
But yes, it is a disease that can spread quickly, and so that's why we are really aware of making that diagnosis and intervening early.
When you make the diagnosis, is melanoma usually found in areas that have been exposed to the sun?
Yeah, that's a good question. So across the board, not always, but most of the time, yes. So it is a condition that you see on areas that have chronic or intermittent sun exposure. So areas like the back that sometimes are exposed or maybe have had serious burns are areas that we often see it. In females, the most common location is the legs. In males, it's the back.
Interesting. How does that lesion differ from other skin? Can you tell immediately that's a problem?
Yeah. So melanoma is a little bit tricky. I would say dermatologists will say that that's the diagnosis that kind of keeps them up at night because every melanoma looks different. However, there are things to look for. So a dark spot can definitely be a sign of a melanoma. Some melanomas, about 30%, develop in a pre-existing mole, so a spot you've always had your whole life and now it's changing.
Wow.
Versus about 70% are de novo or a new lesion that's appearing on the skin.
Wow. And again, risk factors, UV rays, I mean that.
Of course,
What
yes.
about genetics?
Genetics does play a role. About 10% of people who develop melanoma, there is a family history or genetic component there. We do know, though, genetics as far as fair skin, light eyes, light hair, that puts someone at increased risk of developing a melanoma.
And the increase in folks over the age of 50, is that simply because people are living longer? Is it because screening has increased and improved?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do know that melanoma is increasing in diagnosis. Why is that happening? We're not exactly sure. There's a couple hypotheses. Like you've said, we do have now a larger population of older individuals. Also, one of the factors that often isn't talked about is reporting. So every time you diagnose a melanoma, you have to report it to the cancer registry. In recent years, there are better reporting guidelines. So that's definitely could be a factor.
Interesting. Last question here. We're kind of running out of time, but this is a biggie. Sunscreen. What do you look for? What do you try to avoid?
One of my favorite questions. So sunscreen is so important. It's your opportunity to really protect yourself from the sun and those UV rays that we know are linked with melanoma. So you want to look for three big things in your sunscreen. You want to look for an SPF greater than 30. You want to look for a broad spectrum sunscreen, so that protects you from UVA and UVB rays. And then the third thing you want to look for is water resistance. You're probably going to be sweating if you're outside, so you want one that's going to still work even in the...
Are people getting the message about this? Do you think that the message has, things have finally turned a little
There's
bit?
definitely an increased awareness. I see a lot of people who are checking their skin at home who come in with a spot they're concerned about.
And as far as sunburn, again, I'm running out, but I want to get this all in here. As far as sunburns are concerned, is it exposure to the sun or is it damaged exposure to the sun?
It's both. So even with little bits of sun exposure, DNA damage can take place, but sunburns really increase one's risk for developing
Even earlier in
melanoma.
life.
That's the greatest risk. So for prevention for children and adolescents is so important.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Jordan Abbott, again, Mater MD Anderson Cancer Center. So much to talk about here. Thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.